What's going on, gang? Welcome to Bwaynepresents. This is your host, B. Wayne. I'm here today with Miss Barbie. What's going on, Barbie?
Hey, how are you?
Doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm blessed. I'm doing well.
Hey, man. So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna get started. If you would, go ahead and introduce yourself, your name, age, and where you're located.
I'm Barbie Muhammad. I am 41, located about 30 minutes south of Raleigh in a town called Fuquay, Varina, North Carolina.
So we were talking a moment ago, and we were talking about how I went to school up that way. It's a really cool area near the
Mhm.
Triangle. I went to St. Aug. You got a lot of HBCUs, Shaw, Central, St. Aug. You got Chapel Hill not far. You got Duke up the road. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I used to actually, I did book reports. I would go to NC State. This was, pre 9/11. I'm sure that you can't
Right.
walk on it off campus now, but it was a pretty cool area. How do you like it out there?
I love it. It's peaceful, very
Is it
nice. It's more
so? It's
small, but
right.
it's pretty. I enjoy it.
Kind of like it's a
But
college town, right? Is it different from where other areas you previously lived?
I'm actually right up the road from Campbell University. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a private school.
Okay.
Um, it's a really good school too, as well. Expensive, but because it's private, but it's really nice as well.
Tell me about it.
Nice
St. Aug
people.
was private. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah, I love St.
Thanks,
Aug.
mom and dad. Shout out to mom and dad.
Hey, everybody.
All right. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I mean, I'm Barbie, 41. Um, I'm a single mother of three boys. Two are about to be out of the house. That's an adjustment for me. Then I have my youngest son as well. I enjoy just going out, getting the fresh air. I'm in the process of changing careers as well, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm getting into bail bondsing. Um, what else? I mean, I enjoy life. I enjoy spending time with my kids, watching football, um, painting. What else? Shooting. I love to go shoot guns. In the South, you get used to that, right? Um, but I'm very outgoing. I'm not shy. I'm always interested to start new things as well. So,
Would you consider yourself more of an extrovert, more
yeah,
outgoing,
but I have
more
to take
people?
breaks sometimes.
Gotcha. Gotcha. People think I'm an extrovert, but I'm not.
Right.
So, and I think the biggest thing about being an introvert is like, uh, maybe I'm an introvert because I'm like I feel energy so strongly, and
That's
when
how
you're
I am
dealing,
too.
and you have to kind of, you got
You
to
got
get
to take
away from
breaks.
people.
Right. There you go. Yes, sir.
I don't like small talk. I like doing purposeful things. I like being direct and straight to the point. Like,
Exactly.
it has to have meaning and context, and I'm good. Otherwise, I'm out. So,
Right. You got to stimulate my mind first. Intelligent
correct.
conversation is a must.
So, talking about mental stimulation, let's talk about your ideal person.
Okay.
Do you have a type? Do you believe in types? Do you know the type of individual that you would have most interest in?
I know what I am looking for in a man. Um, I stand on respect, loyalty, and truthfulness, honesty. Even if it's brutally honest, I can always respect somebody that's telling me the truth, no matter how bad it hurts. But don't, you know, lie to me to spare my feelings. I know what I stand for and what I bring to the table. So there's no need in lying about it or wasting my time. There's nothing worse in life than time wasted. That's my that's what I stand on as well. Um, there's no need to make up things because the truth will come out eventually. So, um, and I enjoy being courted. I'm old fashioned. I do. I enjoy dates. I enjoy, um, especially when it comes to respect too, opening the car doors, um, flowers, um, romance. That's a must to me too. I am
You want
celibate right now though, but
you want to be treated like a lady,
exactly.
and you want romance, and you want tenderness. You want a guy who's authentic and genuine, an old school gentleman, but you're not looking to get into the sheets right away because you're on
Take our time.
a celibacy journey currently, right?
Yes, sir. Take our time and get to know each other first.
Hmm.
And eventually it'll happen. If there's a connection there, you'll know it.
Do you think that that is the biggest issue, or one of the biggest issues with dating and relationships? Have we become too um, oriented, focused on sexual gratification?
Yes. Nowadays the generations they don't date necessarily. They they're looking for, I would say, a friend with benefits versus a stable relationship. And with me being celibate, I thought that it would actually turn people off in a way, but it does not. Like they look at me as a challenge or a mystery that they have to conquer. Um, so it can get a little bit frustrating. There's definitely people out there that are seeking the wrong thing, and you have to be mindful and smart and pay attention to actions versus words. So
So you were in a relationship, you're out of that relationship. Since the relationship ended, how have you gotten over it, gotten past it, worked on your healing, and prepared yourself to meet someone new?
exactly. That's one thing I try to tell other women too when going through a breakup. You need to take that time and focus on yourself, pour into yourself, better yourself. That's the people always ask about revenge or wanting to avenge what they've been through or so forth. The best revenge you can do is bettering yourself and let karma handle the rest. There's no sense in focusing, and you got to learn to forgive too. Life's too short. Forgive and move on. Focus on yourself, better yourself. There's always room for growth. I mean, the world is always moving. Things are always going to move and change, and you have to learn to keep focus on what matters. And then eventually, you just once you pour into yourself and you love yourself, you're going to heal with time, and that's when you'll know you're ready for somebody. Is when you start to feel connection. You have to be comfortable being alone with yourself too. Um, a lot of people are scared to be alone. So I'm not. No matter what, I know I'm going to be okay. So I'm fine with or without. I would like to have a partner. I want to have a partner, but I don't need them.
One of the most difficult lessons for me to learn is I don't know if it's a universal or cosmic law, but it's like basically you you know when you're ready for something oftentimes when you actually don't need it.
Yeah, they out of nowhere. Mhm.
That's when you know. And it was hard for me, like, you think about wanting to be successful when I was younger, wanting to have a lot of money, and you're working and making deals out of desperation, and
Mhm.
people with real money, people with real power, they're going to stay away from that individual. uh, but a person who is more stable, like a bank will, give you a loan when you have money,
Right.
when you have stability, when you have security, because they feel like you're going to make good on that debt. And I think it works the same way in relationships. As long as you're out here looking for something, desperate to find someone, not happy on your own, people are going to sense that, and they're going to take advantage of it. You're going to end up attracting somebody toxic.
Yeah, you're right. You are correct. I believe in that. And that's part of the reason why I practice celibacy too, because it teaches you discipline. It keeps your because we as ladies, I don't care what they say, but we're wired to be emotional and to associate sex with emotions and love, you know, and you have to be able to think with your mind and be clear on your intentions. But then when you add that to the mix, it sort of clouds it, and you don't want to fall for the wrong one. So you need to take a little bit of time just to see if their words and actions match. If not, you're going to keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again in a vicious cycle. So you got to stop that and recognize it.
So you said something very interesting. One of the biggest issues, one of the major concerns that I feel men have with women, especially today, and this is my opinion. I don't believe that I'm the speaker for all men of the world, but
Right.
I feel a lot of men, and we make jokes about it. And I'm like, ha ha, women don't take accountability for their actions. Ha ha, women don't, you can't tell them anything. How do you feel about women taking accountability and responsibility for their actions when it comes to dating and relationships, repeating the same patterns, repeating the same
Exactly.
cycles? Why do you feel like there seems to be a disconnect when it comes to women and taking accountability for what they do and their part they play in failed relationships?
I think a lot of women like to play the victim role. And it's so easy to point the finger at somebody else for your mistakes. But what's most important is that you do take self accountability. I mean, there's a reason why you're attracting over and over again the same type of people. And what's the common denominator in all these toxic relationships that you've been in and out of? It's me. You have to look inside within and work on yourself so that way you'll be able to heal properly. I mean, people say they want to keep it real all the time, but they can't even keep it real within themselves, you know? You got to take that accountability. And then you owe it to yourself to heal. In and out of relationships, not healing, that's the worst thing that you can do. And it's very important you owe it to yourself to heal before you can be with somebody else. I mean, I think that goes for men too, as well, as far as taking self accountability and healing. Men men don't like therapy or don't believe in. I'm gonna say most people, men, they don't believe in therapy. They don't believe in getting help. You know, nowadays a lot of people grow up in these toxic environments young. That's all they've been shown. That's all they know is toxicity. So they're not going to understand the difference between a toxic relationship and a healthy relationship. And once you take that time out for yourself, though, and really love yourself, you got to fall in love with yourself first before you can fall in love with somebody else. I love myself now. I'm not perfect either, you know. I have my quirks as well, and I mean, I I work on stuff too as far as being patient. That's being patient. That's what I'm working on right now. But
You have to love yourself before you can love somebody else and before you can receive love or accept love. You have people out here who don't even know what genuine love is. You have people out here that want another person to do something for them that they're unable or unwilling to do for themselves. So
exactly,
how can you give something to someone they have yet been able to figure out how to give themselves? And how will they even recognize what they've been given if they haven't experienced it before, if they don't even know what it really means to be loved? I think I,
exactly.
I think there's a pandemic, there's an epidemic with people, not just women, but as you stated, men as well, being broken, being
Mhm.
unhealed, being unhealthy, and going out and looking for love is like some type of medicine to
Right.
cure what they have going on the inside. Now,
Exactly.
what do we do about that? And this is just opinion. This is, I'm
Right.
kind of putting you on the spot, but what do you
It's
think?
okay.
How do we fix that? How do we
We
navigate
take
that?
that, we take that time to look within ourselves and pour into ourselves. You can't pour into somebody else if your glass is already empty. You got to learn how to pour back into yourself, and you have to be able to do what you're willing to ask for. You have to be willing to give it to yourself first and have the ability to do it yourself before you can go out looking for somebody else. And that's what a lot of people do. They hop in and out of one relationship to another. They don't. take that time to focus on what are they doing, what can they make better, because most people always think you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, and without that accountability, you're never going to learn. Never. I want a healthy relationship. I'm not settling. I don't have time for toxicity anymore. And I do want somebody that is about, career driven, at least on my level, Um, they're established, they have their own home. How can you expect to be with somebody and you're still living at home with your mother, or, your finances aren't correct? You got to be able to fix all that and heal all of that, mentally, physically, emotionally, to be able to be vulnerable. A lot of people lack vulnerability too. So I'm looking for somebody who's healed. Quality over quantity.
So let's
Not,
discuss that. You brought up a good point earlier, and I want to circle back to that. You discussed, men, we're the same way, right? We don't we're out here, plowing through women,
right.
unhealed, unhealthy, unwell, because we don't want to deal with our emotions. Now I know why that is. Um,
Mhm.
and I think it's generally accepted, even though we don't discuss it a lot that I've seen. But every man from the time we're about 8 years old, we're taught to suppress our emotions. Do y'all understand that as women?
Yes, I do. I do.
You understand that you probably done that in some aspect with your three sons, and at some point in time that you've kind of taught them, you've given into the whole, well, you got to be a man, you got to toughen up, you can't, right? Do you feel like you've done that with your sons, or you feel like you kind of avoided that?
I don't. I'm very honest with my kids.
Mhm.
Um, I don't sugarcoat anything, and I think they're comfortable coming to me
Good.
about anything and talking. Um, when I make mistakes, I apologize to them too. I think that's a big mistake that parents, do when it comes to kids. Suck it up, get over it. Um, but I feel that they're comfortable enough to come to me and talk to me about stuff.
So
And
society has, as a whole, we haven't done a great job with that, and I've been a victim of it as a man. Now I never acted like my kids couldn't show emotions. I let my sons know, whatever you're doing, if you're crying, if you're, there needs to be a reason. There needs to be a valid reason. You need to take accountability for your actions and your emotions.
right,
Their mother was super about that when it comes to the girls. She's the type chick. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna spaz out because I'm on my period. I'm not gonna spaz out because I'm not feeling great. I have to hold myself accountable and check. My emotions are not gonna rule me. She was very dope in that regard. How do we understand though that guys as a whole, we're stunted emotionally because we're taught to suppress for the most part by
right,
society. We're taught to suppress our emotions, and we don't have the outlets like your girlfriend, hey, oh, come here, girl. You can cry on each other, you can talk, and it's all good. Guys, we don't typically have that, right? That's a byproduct of toxic masculinity. I will say that. Now, how do you think we rectify that when it comes to men?
I think it's very important to be able to heal as well with therapy. Therapy and finding a woman that will provide that safe space. It's very important that a man has peace and a safe space where he is allowed to be vulnerable, where he can trust that what he comes to his partner about, that it will be able to um, safely share their feelings and feel comfortable and vulnerable enough to cry. Um, because life is hard. Men carry a lot of weight on their shoulders, and it's not right to have to carry that by themselves. Um, they should be able to go to their partner and to help share that load as well. I think when you're in a relationship and serious, you're a team. You help each other out. And I mean, also, it does say in the Bible, a helpmate. Um, you help each other grow. It's very important to get into those healthy mindsets too. I don't think that men or women nowadays feel as though they have that safe space where they can come to their partner honestly, because it's hard out here nowadays. It's very difficult, and men carry that weight on them, and eventually it's gonna explode, and it's gonna cause aggression too, and that's not healthy at all. Stress affects people more than they realize. It can cause you, it can cause death if you don't let it go.
You know why God used a rib, used Adam's rib to create Eve? Two things, two reasons. The ribs represent support
Okay.
and protecting your vulnerabilities.
Wow.
And that's what a woman is meant to do. You're supposed to add support and that helpmate, like you stated, as well as protecting a man's vulnerable areas. With his lady, that's supposed to be the one place where he can feel safe and respected and vulnerable. But we have, I think, in today's day, a culture where we look around and the last thing a man feels like he can do is be vulnerable when it comes to women, right? Let his
Right.
guard down when it comes to women because you have a lot of to put it back on the Bible, another reference from the Bible. You have a lot of Delilahs out here
Right.
in our minds that can make some men feel like the moment I allow myself to be vulnerable to this individual, I'm going to pay for it in some way with either her words, her thought processes, or her actions. What would
Right.
you
And that's so
say?
sad too.
It is, but it's a byproduct of what men have created as a culture, as well. So it's our fault. It's everybody's fault. But my question to you, how do we begin to repair the trust issues, the lack of trust, the lack of faith that we have in one another as men and women? Where do you think we start?
Again, I still think that it starts within first and healing that inner child that's still there. And I also feel like if you take your time and learn somebody and build that up, then that respect is there and it won't get thrown back in your face. I think that's one of the worst things we as women have done. Not saying me necessarily, but just women as a whole, um, throw up in their face at the wrong time certain stuff that they share and confide in with a woman. And that's not okay either. They need to be able to come, let it out, and then not speak about it again unless they're ready to. It shouldn't be thrown back up in somebody's face. So, and I think that causes men to shut down a lot too when they don't feel comfortable sharing with women or when they don't have peace within the home. So,
And I think you're right. I think you're right. It does start with them being healthy in themselves, taking the onus of I got to get myself together, make sure I'm good. Because if you as a woman, if I'm your dude and I'm like, hey babe, I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling like that. In that moment, you can project whatever issues you have, whatever insecurities you have, onto me. Take out on me what your ex did, what that other dude did, what
right.
the last guy did, and end up perpetuating a cycle. As opposed to if you're healthy, then you can make the focus about me. Because I think people who are unhealthy, they make everything, they turn everything into a negative about them. No matter what you bring to them, they see it as a criticism towards them. I guess because they've been criticized in their minds, or because they have low self worth, low self value. So it does
Very
start
self
with everybody
esteem.
taking accountability to get themselves healthy. How will you know as a woman when you are at a level of health and wellness and wholeness that or how do you know if you feel like you're there? How did you know, or how will you know when you are at a level like, okay, I am as much I'm as good with me as I can be? What was that switch that flipped for you when you knew you were ready to step back out and put yourself back out there?
Um, I think if you're focused in on yourself, I'm not going out there and actively, oh my goodness, I got to be with somebody. I need to date, or I think it'll come naturally. Um, they'll find me, and there'll be a connection, an instant connection. You can tell when you first meet somebody if there's a connection or not, and you got to learn somebody too. I think it'll happen naturally versus force. I think a lot of times women force themselves to forget about, instead of healing, forget about the other person and start with a new person. Um, and I don't think that's correct either to do, because you you've not recognized and dealt with the issues that come along with your last relationship, and then they go and they put that onto the next man. Um, so when you heal, I think you'll be able to. It'll happen. You don't have to force it.
So how did you know when you were healed and healthy and whole enough to say, all right, I'm ready to step back out there? What were the indicators that let you know you were healthy enough to involve yourself with someone else, potentially romantically?
Um, just engaging and being able to hold conversations with people, with men. Um, I think that once you're able to recognize good qualities in a man, and you have that negativity out of your mind, and again, with me being celibate, um, it takes away those emotions. I think even though some women say they're just like men, you know, vice versa, um, we're still emotionally wired, you see? And no woman really wants to be just a friend with benefits. They want that connection. They want that stability. They want somebody that they can build with. And then eventually they end up in those situations. And when they do, they want more. And that ends up hurting them and breaking them even more. When you take that out of the picture, it allows, not only does that allow healing, but it allows you to take your time. You're not, you shouldn't settle and just rush into another relationship out of fear of being alone. You need to take that time and get to know somebody, learn somebody, learn their habits, see the bad side, see the good side, you know. Because when you're first meeting somebody, you're going to meet their representative. You're going to meet the best version of them. And you have to see for yourself and pay attention, not only to their words, but that the actions actually match the words. Um, but I know I'm ready because I have healed. I'm able to focus on myself. I'm stable. Um, I'm pouring into myself. And I know the right man will come along. I'm just not actively going to be out there settling for just anybody. And it's good to have standards. A lot of people, though, men think that I'm stuck up because I do have standards and because I don't just randomly give that part of myself to just anybody. I do believe in soul connections. I believe in soul ties. And it's very important that you don't just be with anybody and everybody.
I'm gonna get you out of here on this one. If there was one thing that you would want a potential future mate to know about you or society in general, if there was one thing that you would want to be known for, or you want people to know about yourself, what would it be?
I think it would be my loyalty, my generosity, and it's not one thing, and
That's
my
fine.
energy. I'm
That's
very
fine.
outgoing. I love life. Um, I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot, and I just I think people would want to know me for how I help people as well. I'm a helper. Um, I'll help the stranger on the street if I'm able to. Um, and I do enjoy meeting new people and learning new people, different ways of life, you know. Of
Thank you, Barbie.
course.